Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into a brand new episode of the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports, and today we have got some massive news to discuss around Travis Kelce. A big report today coming in from Dianna Russini, the latest around that situation and what the Chiefs and Travis Kelce are looking at doing going into 2026. So we're going to break that down in the front half of today's episode, but we're also just a couple of days away from the start of NFL free agency. Legal tampering period starts tomorrow, so teams can begin to meet with players. You're going to start hearing deals announced tomorrow, although those deals won't technically be official until Wednesday. It's a little confusing, but look for some news tomorrow. We will have some videos out tomorrow as the Chiefs make some moves, so make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you are locked in, because anything that the Kansas City Chiefs do, whether it's a signing, whether it's an extension for somebody, bringing back Travis Kelce, hopefully we get that news over the next couple of days, we will make a video right here on the Chiefs Report by Chat Sports. But let's go ahead and get right into the report today from Dianna Russini, what she had just about an hour ago on Twitter. Here's what she had to say. Based on conversations with several teams, tight end Travis Kelce appears motivated to return to play a 14th season. The Chiefs remain very much in the mix to re-sign the three-time Super Bowl champion and four-time All-Pro. Now, the front half of this is not a surprise. The front half of this lines up with everything that we've been hearing. That Travis Kelce does not seem to be headed towards retirement. That Travis Kelce does seem to want to come back for a 14th season in the NFL. But what is quite interesting about this report is this back end here. The Chiefs remain very much in the mix to re-sign the three-time Super Bowl champion. In the mix? Yeah, I should hope so. He's on the team, right? What? Of course they're in the mix, but if there's a mix to be in, then that implies that there are other teams in it already. That, I think, is the unsaid part of this tweet, right, guys? Like, we got to read between the lines a little bit with some of this insider speak. And when you say the Chiefs are in the mix to re-sign the three-time Super Bowl champion, I hear two things. Number one is the Kansas City Chiefs are one of several teams currently trying to get this done. And number two, we got some tampering going on probably. And of course, we all know tampering occurs in the NFL with every big name free agent. Teams are going to try to reach out beforehand. Shout out to Kirk Cousins, 2 years ago when he signed with Atlanta, saying how he had been talking to the trainer a couple days before. Like, it's an open secret about our league. But I do think there are other teams interested in signing Travis Kelce. And this report, I think the number one takeaway here is the Chiefs are pushing, but so are other teams. And I think that's a big part of why it's taking as long as it is, even if it's just agent games at the end of the day. Agents want to get their money. Agents want to max out on a player's contract, even if the player wants to be in Kansas. Like, I think Travis Kelce wants to be in Kansas City, but I could absolutely see Travis Kelce's agent playing agent games to try to max out his payday. You know what I mean? And like that's his job. So I do think the takeaway here is there's probably other teams interested. The Cleveland Browns, I think, come to mind as the number one team that would likely be interested. This isn't something Russini said, so don't quote her on this. This is me kind of thinking out loud here. If I'm thinking about other teams that might be interested here, the Cleveland Browns, David Njoku just made it very clear he's gone. So there goes your obvious, they did draft Harold Fannin last year, so they have a tight end number one, but David Njoku and Harold Fannin made up one of the best tight end duos in the league last season. If you want to keep something like that together, bringing Travis Kelce in to help Harold Fannin absolutely makes sense. And what also makes a lot of sense about it is the fact that Kelce is from Cleveland. Very, very notably, very proud of the fact that he is from that area. So it could be kind of a hometown reunion for him at the end of the day. But I do think he comes back to Kansas City and re-signs. But I think the Chiefs have to be very urgent here. I don't want to see them massively overpay for Travis Kelce at this point in his career. I think Travis Kelce will be team friendly with the Chiefs when it's all said and done, and I do think he will sign with the Chiefs when it's all said and done, but reports like this, they make you a little nervous, don't they? Like, I don't like to hear that there are other teams in the mix right now pushing for Travis Kelce. Obviously, they want to bring in a talented player like that, but I would like for the Chiefs to have moved quicker on this situation, and I think they got to move quickly over the next couple of days to ensure that a deal gets done, to ensure that one of the best players in the entire history of your franchise does not end up suiting up for a different franchise. Make sure that that doesn't happen, Brett Veach, over the next couple of weeks. I think you owe that to Chiefs fans. But guys, before we get into some free agency targets, some other guys that I think Brett Veach should be looking at bringing into Kansas City. Obviously, we wanted to bring Travis Kelce back, but we need some new faces around here to reload to get back to where we want to go next season. Let's give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is Prize Picks. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right, Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting, so don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. Pick from all your favorite sports, anything from basketball, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. My lineup for tonight's basketball action, I'm going with the more on Reed Shepherd's points, rebounds, and assists at 21. I'm going with the more on Stephen Castle's rebounds and assists, and I'm going with the more on LaMelo Ball's points at 18.5. You could tail me on this lineup. You could fade me on this lineup. Whatever you do, just do it at Prize Picks. And when you do, you're joining millions of users and signing up for America's #1 sports picks app. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Indeed it is. Let's talk Chiefs free agency targets, as we are, like I said, one day away. As I'm filming, this is 4:15 on Sunday, March 8th. March 9th is the beginning of the legal tampering window. I believe it's at noon. Teams can begin to technically negotiate with players at that point. Although, I mean, we all know it's already going on. It's already happening. The #1 player I think the Kansas City Chiefs should be looking to sit down with as soon as that legal tampering window begins, or if they're already not doing it, Kenneth Walker. Bring him in. Bring in the reigning Super Bowl MVP. We just talked about him in a video the other day. Shout out to our guy Ricky Scoops, who went back to the dog pound, as it were, it seems. Hopefully you're doing all right, my man. But he told us that Kenneth Walker was a top target for the Kansas City Chiefs, kind of dispelling that idea that we'd heard that the Chiefs weren't looking to be cheap at the running back position, that they weren't looking to spend top-end money, and we'll end up seeing whether or not it's true. But we all know Ricky's track record. He's usually pretty solid. But the latest report around Kenneth Walker is quite interesting. It does complicate things, and maybe this is something Ricky wasn't even aware of. Kenneth Walker's market could reach $15 million per year, which would eliminate many teams from signing him, per rumors and these rumors came from Dan Duggan of The Athletic. So interesting, right? Like, obviously you want to land Kenneth Walker. We've talked about what a guy like Kenneth Walker could bring to the Kansas City Chiefs offense, how talented he would be, how he would definitely be the best back that Patrick Mahomes has ever played with in his career. But it is also really hard to see the Kansas City Chiefs dropping $15 million per year on a running back when half of our offseason content has been about how cap-strapped this team is. At the end of the day, an equation that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like you've gone from being, you're obviously not the most cap-strapped team in the NFL anymore. You've made some moves to ensure that that's no longer the case. They're the right moves to make on the part of Brett Veach. I've given him a lot of props for a lot of the things that he's done over the last couple of months. I think dropping $15 million on a running back would not be something, while I do love the idea of Kenneth Walker, that's too much money. At the end of the day, that is too much money for a guy like Kenneth Walker. I do think he's great. I don't think he's worth $15 million per year. I think that's the reality of it. If you could get him for less, if you could get him for even just like 12, 10, 11, 13 even would be kind of like the top end that I would be willing to spend per year on a guy like Kenneth Walker. I know it doesn't sound like a ton of difference there, but when you are as committed on other existing big contracts as the Kansas City Chiefs are right now, every penny matters, and that $2 million could be very significant. So if you could get him down to 12, 13 million, convince him, hey, this gives you an opportunity to get that next Super Bowl ring. I know he's probably a little bit more focused on money right now, given he's coming off of a Super Bowl ring, so it may not be the best pitch in the world. But at the end of the day, everybody loves to win, and the Chiefs have a proven track record of winning, even if you include last season in the equation. But let's talk about other running back targets, because $15 million is just hard to envision for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. I don't think you have to spend $15 million on Travis Etienne, though. Somebody that we've talked about as the top backup option if you can't get Kenneth Walker, and I still think that's the case. I still think Travis Etienne is the best bang for your buck at the running back position available in free agency this offseason. He has been great for the Jacksonville Jags over the last couple seasons. He had a great time at Clemson. My biggest concern about him is there's a lot of tread on the tires. It's basically like 8 seasons consecutively as RB1. So it's a lot to consider with Travis Etienne, but I think that also is something that everybody knows. It's something his agents know when they come into discussion, and it's why he cannot, despite production not being entirely different from Kenneth Walker. I mean, obviously he doesn't have a Super Bowl MVP on the resume. The deal's going to be a lot different for Travis Etienne. He is not going to be anywhere near the $15 million markers. He could be at the $8 million marker at the end of the day, which, hey, that's shout out to Jonathan Jones, our guy who had that report that that's what the Chiefs were looking to spend on running back. And it might end up being true at the end of the day. I think that's probably what you would spend on a guy like Travis Etienne. I do think the Chiefs want to push for Kenneth Walker, though, but I don't think they're going to overspend here. I think that's the biggest, my feel for the Chiefs running back situation right now, if I had to give it to you in one sentence, is push as hard as they can for Kenneth Walker. See if they can get him on a deal that makes sense, but commit to not overspending. I think they're going to commit to a price ceiling here at 12 to 13, maybe $14 million. And if they can't get it in that range, they won't go for it. If Kenneth Walker and his agents are committed to getting $15, $16 million annually, that's not going to work for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think they'll fall back to a guy like Travis Etienne, realizing that the difference in potential production just isn't big enough to justify spending that extra couple $1 million. So that's my take on the running back position. Let's talk about another position that we all know the Chiefs need to address in free agency this offseason, and that is absolutely edge. I think Jaelen Phillips is an interesting name to kind of keep an eye on here, keep in the back of your mind, if you will. And those of you who've been subscribed for a long time, obviously I don't think Jaelen Phillips is an unfamiliar name to any of you, but I know that's a name that is definitely familiar to some of you guys because we talked about him around the trade deadline. If you've been around for a little while, it was a couple months ago, obviously. We talked about Phillips being a potential target for the Chiefs. Obviously, he did end up getting dealt at the trade deadline, moving on from the Miami Dolphins, but not to the Kansas City Chiefs, as we were hoping. Instead, he ends up becoming a Philadelphia Eagle, and he played quite well in Philadelphia. And that's going to result in him getting a pretty solid contract this offseason. The question just kind of becomes, is that contract coming from Philly or is it coming from somebody else? And the latest reports are that Philadelphia is kind of going back and forth between him and Jalen Carter, who they have very kind of publicly made open for a trade. Once again, Ricky Scoops coming through with that report, and then obviously Jeremy Fowler backing it up this morning. So it's interesting. it will be a decision for the Philadelphia Eagles between Jalen Carter and Jaelen Phillips, the two Jaelens, if you were, spelled quite differently. I think they're going to choose Carter. That's kind of my read on the situation. If they don't, then my take would be that Carter is not an asset that you really want much to do with. I think choosing Carter over Jaelen Phillips, though, makes sense for a number of reasons. Carter's been there longer in Philadelphia. He's somebody they invested a first-round draft pick in. He is somebody that fits the scheme. Like, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he seems to be he's much younger. He's been very productive. He's widely considered one of the best, if not the best, defensive tackles in our game. If they moved on from him, I would assume there was something off the field with Jalen Carter that only kind of they know right now. But Jaelen Phillips being moved on from in that equation then doesn't give you the same red flags, because it would just be an ultimate decision to, hey, you're a little bit older, you've only been here for 1 year, injury concerns obviously are what they are with him. I would jump on that, though, if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs. Include the injury concerns. Obviously, they're a factor. It's a contract you're going to have to pony up some cash for. Somebody else might have to hit the road, or you might have to restructure some more deals here. Please don't touch Chris Jones's. There are other ways to do this, Brett Veach. But I think it would be a massive upgrade for the Kansas City Chiefs pass rush. I absolutely do. And we know it is something they've got to upgrade. Be that in the draft with the 9th overall pick, or be that with a big move in free agency. But again, go back to the draft. I think, let's just round up on this first before we get there. I think Jaelen Phillips would be a massive, massive upgrade for this pass rush. And I also think Boye Mafe would be a big upgrade as well from the Seattle Seahawks. He's another guy like Kenneth Walker coming off of a Super Bowl win and coming off of 2 really good years of production. 44 pressures, over an 11% pressure rate in 2025 in the regular season alone. He had 91 pressures in the last 2 seasons, nearly a 13% pressure rate over the last 2 years. I don't think that's something that anybody other than Chris Jones on this Chiefs defense could say. That gives you another lethal presence for your pass rush, somebody who can really get after it. I think he can elevate the ceilings of everybody else around him. I really think Jaelen Phillips and Boye Mafe offer that kind of elevating presence to other guys in your front seven, to the defense as a whole. It's an investment in the entire unit. But again, what I was going to say before I wanted to talk about Boye Mafe first, what we see the Chiefs invest in over the next couple of days, be it a big re-signing for Travis Kelce, a big move at running back, or a big edge defender, I think it's going to be 2 of those 3 things at the end of the day. I don't know if you can afford to do all 3 of them. It's going to reveal a lot about the draft strategy. So again, keep your eyes on this channel over the next couple of days. Make sure you are subscribed with your notifications on, because we're going to learn a lot about what we have to come down the line in this Chiefs offseason. We're going to be breaking down everything that the Chiefs do and what it tells us about what might be coming next on this channel as it happens. So one more time, make sure you lock in by subscribing, and we will see you in the next one. As always, let's go Kansas City Chiefs.